In 3 seconds, 4 men would learn that attacking a CEO in front of her janitor was the last mistake they'd ever make. Dr. Sarah Mitchell's heels clicked against the polished cement of the parking garage, echoing between concrete pillars. 11:45 p.m. Another 16-hour day, fighting to save a drug that could change everything for pediatric cancer patients. Her silver sedan waited in its reserved spot, keys already in her trembling fingers. The exhaustion hit her like a wave. Sarah leaned against her car door, breathing in the antiseptic smell that seemed to follow her everywhere. Tomorrow's FDA hearing would determine whether 18 months of research lived or died, whether hope survived or got buried under corporate greed. Movement caught her peripheral vision. 4 figures stepping from the shadows between the pillars. Too coordinated to be security, too quiet to be maintenance, their faces hidden behind black masks, hands reaching inside dark jackets. Sarah's breath stopped. Her keys slipped from nerveless fingers, clattering against concrete. That's when Marcus Chen rounded the corner with his cleaning cart, just finishing his rounds on the executive floor, wheels squeaking their familiar rhythm. 7-year-old Tommy would be deep asleep by now, the seizure medication keeping his small body safe through another night. Marcus saw the scene in a single glance, predators closing on prey. His hands found the mop handle, fingers wrapping around industrial-grade aluminum. Not the weapon they expected, not the man they thought. The lead figure motioned to his team. Time to move. Marcus's pulse stayed surgeon steady as he stepped between death and the woman who held his son's future in her research. They thought they faced a single CEO and a night janitor. They had no idea the ghost of Kandahar had been waiting 3 years for this moment. Marcus moved with the unhurried confidence of someone who'd faced worse odds in darker places. The lead attacker raised his hand, a signal that died in his throat as a mop handle cracked across his wrist. The weapon skittered away, metal singing against concrete. "Run," Marcus told Sarah without looking back. His voice carried the quiet authority of a man accustomed to life or death decisions. But Sarah Mitchell didn't build a biotech empire by running from fights. She grabbed her car keys, engine roaring to life, headlights flooding the garage with harsh white light. The remaining 3 attackers squinted, momentarily blinded. Marcus used the distraction. A cleaning cart became a battering ram. Industrial wheels crushed feet. Metal shelving caught ribs. These weren't street thugs. Their recovery time and tactical spacing screamed military training. But they'd never faced someone who learned combat medicine in Afghanistan, who knew exactly where to strike to disable without killing. The last attacker pulled a knife. Marcus stepped inside the arc, fingers finding pressure points that dropped the man like a stone. 30 seconds. 4 down. Sarah's headlights still cutting through garage shadows. Marcus's shirt sleeve hung torn, revealing a thin line of blood across his forearm. Nothing serious. But as he helped Sarah from her car, her eyes locked onto his hands. Too steady for a janitor who just survived a knife fight. Too precise in their movements. "You're bleeding," she whispered. "It's nothing." Marcus was already calculating. 23 minutes to get home. Tommy's morning medication couldn't be late, not even once. Sarah watched him push the cleaning cart away, disappearing into the service elevator like violence had never touched this place. Her hands shook as she dialed security, but one thought echoed. Janitors didn't move like that. Apartment 4B smelled like generic mac and cheese and the faint antiseptic of medical supplies. Marcus slipped through the door, locking 3 deadbolts behind him. Tommy's breathing came steady from the bedroom. Deep, peaceful sleep that seizure medication made possible. Mrs. Rodriguez from next door looked up from her knitting. "Late tonight, mijo. Everything okay?" "Spill in the lab. Big mess." The lie came easily. 20 years of practiced deception, ever since Dr. Marcus Chen officially died in a Kandahar explosion meant for someone else. "That boy asked for you twice. Worried about your promise." Marcus's chest tightened. Tomorrow's field trip to the Science Museum. Tommy had been counting down days on a calendar covered with crayon drawings of dinosaurs and rockets. Simple joys that made every night shift worth the exhaustion. After Mrs. Rodriguez left, Marcus checked Tommy's bedside table. Pill organizer still had Monday's dose waiting. 6:47 a.m. 13 minutes late was still within the therapeutic window. Marcus set his phone alarm for 6:30, same as every morning for 3 years. He cleaned the cut on his arm with practiced efficiency. Shallow, clean edges, would heal without scarring, unlike the deeper wounds that brought him to this anonymous life. Tommy stirred, mumbling in his sleep. "Dad, did you save someone today?" Marcus smoothed his son's hair. "Just cleaned up a mess, buddy. Go back to sleep." But as Tommy settled deeper into his pillow, Marcus stared at the ceiling. Sarah Mitchell's research could eliminate Tommy's seizures entirely. The drug trials were that close to breakthrough, and someone had just tried to kill the woman who held that future in her brilliant, determined hands. Outside, sirens wailed toward Biogenesis Corporation. Too late, as always. Marcus's phone buzzed. Security alert from his employer. Incident in parking garage. All-night staff report for questioning tomorrow. Time to perfect another performance of being invisible. The 32nd floor of Biogenesis Corporation never slept. Sarah Mitchell stood before floor-to-ceiling windows, watching sunrise paint the city gold while her coffee grew cold. Below, normal people drove to normal jobs, unaware that the future of pediatric medicine balanced on the next 72 hours. Her computer screen displayed clinical trial data that would make pharmaceutical giants weep or kill. The breakthrough cancer drug showed 93% efficacy in children under 12, tumors disappearing, families getting their futures back. But somewhere in the chain of development, sabotage had crept in like cancer itself. Dr. Mitchell, her assistant's voice carried exhaustion. The FDA review board moved the hearing to 4 p.m., and there's been another security breach. Sarah's fingers paused over the keyboard. What kind of breach? Someone accessed the pediatric research files. Third time this month. IT says it's coming from inside the building. The betrayal cut deeper than the parking garage attack. One of her own people, someone she trusted with children's lives, was selling hope to the highest bidder. Sarah pulled up the access logs, scanning timestamps and user credentials. 11:42 p.m., right before the garage incident. Someone had downloaded the complete trial protocols while 4 men prepared to silence her permanently. Her phone buzzed with a text from her head of security. Night janitor requests interview about incident, says he has information. Sarah frowned. The quiet man with steady hands wanted to talk. Most employees would avoid involvement, afraid of complications. But Marcus Chen had stepped between her and death without hesitation. She typed back, "Conference room B, 1 hour." Outside her window, the city hummed with morning traffic. Somewhere below, a 7-year-old boy was probably eating breakfast, unaware his father had saved more than one life in a parking garage. Sarah's reflection stared back from the conference room's polished table. Dark circles under her eyes told the story of 18 months fighting corporate warfare disguised as medical research. The buyout offers grew more aggressive each week. $2 billion to shelve a drug that cost pennies to manufacture. Blood money disguised as business sense. Her phone rang. Board Chairman Robert Sterling's voice carried the smooth menace of old money protecting itself. "Sarah, darling, after last night's unfortunate incident, perhaps it's time to reconsider Pharmatech's generous offer. Children are dying while we argue about profit margins, Robert. We aren't a charity, Sarah, but we can't save everyone by bankrupting ourselves." Sarah ended the call, hands trembling with controlled fury. Sterling had pushed for the buyout from day one, claiming fiscal responsibility, while Pharmatech's lobbyist whispered promises of board positions and consulting fees. As the conference room door opened, Marcus Chen entered with the careful posture of someone accustomed to being overlooked. His uniform was spotless, but Sarah noticed the way he favored his left arm, the one that bled, saving her life. "Thank you for seeing me, Dr. Mitchell." His voice carried subtle education beneath blue-collar simplicity. "About last night. You probably saved my life. I should be thanking you." Marcus shook his head. "Those men weren't random muggers. They knew your schedule, your parking spot. Someone inside this building gave them that information." Sarah's blood chilled. Her instincts had whispered the same suspicion, but hearing it confirmed by the man who'd faced the attackers made it real. "Why tell me this? Most people would want to stay uninvolved." Marcus's eyes held depths that didn't belong to a janitor, because some fights are worth having, and some people are worth protecting. Something in his tone, protective, determined, familiar, made Sarah study his face more carefully, but before she could place the feeling, Marcus was already heading for the door. "Be careful who you trust, Dr. Mitchell. Next time, I might not be mopping nearby." The door closed with a soft click, leaving Sarah with more questions than answers about the man who'd appeared at exactly the right moment to save everything she'd worked for. The research lab on Sub-Level 2 hummed with the mechanical heartbeat of medical progress. Marcus guided his cleaning cart between million-dollar machines, each one representing hope for families like his own. The centrifuge spun samples at precise intervals while automated analyzers processed blood work that could rewrite cancer treatment forever. But something felt wrong. The pH meter beside the gene sequencer showed readings that made Marcus pause. Too alkaline for the protein synthesis Sarah's team was running. He checked the chemical supply closet. Bottles rearranged, seals broken on compounds that should have remained untouched. Sabotage wore the face of maintenance neglect. Marcus photographed the evidence with his phone, careful to avoid security cameras. Each image documented systematic tampering designed to corrupt months of research. Contaminated samples would invalidate trial results. Flawed data would kill FDA approval. The ventilation system cycled, carrying the antiseptic smell that reminded him of operating rooms in Kandahar, where Dr. Marcus Chen had earned his surgical reputation before an explosion meant for his commanding officer erased his existence from military records. Footsteps echoed from the main corridor. Marcus resumed mopping, becoming invisible again. Dr. Jennifer Walsh entered with her research team, unaware their life's work was being poisoned from within. The protein synthesis should be complete by morning, Walsh announced. If the stability tests confirm our projections, we'll have definitive proof the drug eliminates tumors without damaging healthy cells. Marcus watched them work, recognizing equipment he'd helped design during his previous life. The irony cut deep. His own research methodologies being used to create the medicine Tommy desperately needed. But as the team departed, Marcus noticed Walsh's assistant lingering behind, adjusting settings on the main analyzer, small changes that would skew results just enough to suggest dangerous side effects. The betrayal had a face, and Marcus finally understood why children were dying while billion-dollar pharmaceutical companies protected their market share. Tomorrow, those corrupted results would reach Sarah's desk, setting the stage for trial suspension and corporate takeover, unless the ghost of Afghanistan decided to haunt biogenesis one more time. Tommy's breathing sounded different when Marcus arrived home at 6:15 a.m., shallower. The subtle change that triggered parental instincts honed by 3 years of medical vigilance. Mrs. Rodriguez met him at the door, worry creasing her weathered face. He had another episode around midnight, mijo. Short one, but... Marcus's world tilted. Tommy's medication should have prevented breakthrough seizures, unless the neurological damage was progressing faster than expected. He found Tommy at the kitchen table, picking at cereal with the listless exhaustion that followed seizure activity. Dark circles shadowed 7-year-old eyes that should have sparkled with curiosity about dinosaurs and rockets. "Morning, buddy. How do you feel?" "Dizzy. And my head hurts." Tommy's voice carried the fragile quality of childhood interrupted by adult concerns. "Dad, why do I get sick when other kids don't?" The question that haunted every parent facing their child's mortality. Marcus knelt beside Tommy's chair, choosing words carefully. "Sometimes our brains work differently, but smart people are creating new medicines to help." "Like the lady you work for?" Marcus's breath caught. "What do you know about her?" "You talk in your sleep sometimes, about saving someone important." Tommy's innocent honesty cut through years of careful deception. "Are you helping her make medicine for kids like me?" The truth balanced on Marcus's tongue, how Dr. Sarah Mitchell's research represented Tommy's best hope for normal childhood, how corporate greed threatened to destroy that future, how the man mopping floors in her building had once pioneered the techniques making her breakthrough possible. Instead, Marcus simply said, "I help however I can." Tommy nodded, accepting adult mysteries with the wisdom of children who'd faced too much too young. "Will you still take me to the museum today?" Marcus checked his watch. 8 hours until his next shift. 8 hours to be a father instead of a ghost protecting strangers. "Absolutely. Want to see some real dinosaurs?" For the first time in days, Tommy smiled. But as they prepared for their outing, Marcus's phone buzzed with news alerts about Biogenesis stock prices fluctuating on rumors of clinical trial problems. The sabotage was accelerating, and time was running out for children who couldn't wait for corporate games to end. The Natural History Museum's main hall echoed with Tommy's delighted laughter as they stood beneath a Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton. For 3 precious hours, seizures and medication schedules vanished, replaced by pure childhood wonder at creatures that ruled the Earth millions of years ago. "Dad, do you think Trex had friends?" Marcus studied the massive skull, thinking about predators and prey, survival and extinction. "I think Trex protected what mattered most: family, territory, the things worth fighting for." Tommy pressed against the safety rail, nose inches from fossilized bone. "Like you protect me?" "Like I protect you." But Marcus's phone vibrated insistently. Text messages from his supervisor about emergency cleaning protocols, news alerts about Biogenesis facing federal investigation over trial irregularities, stock prices plummeting as investors fled rumors of data manipulation. The corporate assassins had shifted tactics from physical violence to financial warfare. Marcus's second phone, the encrypted one he'd sworn never to use again, buzzed with a message that made his blood freeze. "Package delivered to apartment 4, B. Timer set for midnight. Payment on confirmation." Tommy tugged his sleeve. "Dad, you look scared." Marcus forced his expression neutral, but his mind raced through tactical assessments. They'd found his address, threatened his son, crossed the line from corporate espionage to terrorism. "We need to go home, buddy." "But we haven't seen the dinosaur movies yet." Marcus knelt to Tommy's eye level, hands gentle on small shoulders. "Sometimes grown-ups have to handle emergencies, but I promise we'll come back." As they walked toward the exit, Tommy's hand warm in his, Marcus calculated distances and timing. Apartment evacuation, safe house protocols, weapons cache retrieval. The janitor was about to disappear forever. Dr. Marcus Chen had work to finish. Biogenesis Corporation's emergency alarm screamed through sub-level 2 at 11:37 p.m. Marcus arrived with his cleaning cart to find chaos, researchers stumbling from the lab, eyes streaming, lungs burning from chemical exposure. Dr. Jennifer Walsh collapsed against the corridor wall, her skin flushed red from contact with industrial solvent. The same woman whose assistant had sabotaged equipment 12 hours earlier now faced respiratory failure from a maintenance accident that reeked of assassination. "Someone call 911, a junior researcher shouted, phone trembling in his hands. 15 minutes minimum response time, another voice replied. "She'll be dead by then." Marcus calculated seconds instead of minutes. Walsh's symptoms indicated methanol poisoning, treatable if intervention happened immediately, but intervention required medical knowledge no janitor should possess. He made the choice that would change everything. "Everyone step back." Marcus's voice carried surgical authority as he knelt beside Walsh. His hands moved with practiced precision, checking airway, pulse, pupil response. "Get me the emergency medical kit from the security office, now." The researchers stared as their night janitor performed triage with the confidence of someone who'd treated chemical burns in combat zones. Marcus inserted an IV line with one attempt, calculating dosage for emergency ethanol infusion that would counteract methanol's toxic effects. "How do you know?" a researcher began. "Medic training, military." The lie came smoothly as Marcus monitored Walsh's vital signs. "Sometimes you learn things cleaning up after people." Walsh's breathing stabilized. Color returned to her cheeks as the antidote worked through her system. By the time paramedics arrived, she was conscious and coherent. But as the ambulance departed, Marcus felt eyes watching him from the security office doorway. Sarah Mitchell had witnessed the entire emergency response, her expression unreadable. A janitor who performed medical miracles was either the luckiest man alive or hiding secrets that went deeper than anyone imagined. Sarah's private office felt smaller at midnight, shadows closing around furniture that cost more than most people's annual salaries. She spread Marcus Chen's employment file across her desk. 3 years of perfect attendance, stellar performance reviews, and background information that raised more questions than answers. Military service, redacted. Medical training, unspecified. Previous employment, classified. The database searches yielded fragments of a larger puzzle. Marcus Chen had existed before biogenesis, but those records dissolved into bureaucratic black holes that suggested government involvement. Sarah pulled security footage from tonight's emergency. Frame by frame, she watched Marcus work with surgical precision, hands steady under pressure, movements economical and exact. No hesitation, no uncertainty. Like someone who'd done this thousands of times before. Her intercom buzzed. "Dr. Mitchell? There's been another security breach. Someone accessed Dr. Chen's classified medical files." "When?" 3 minutes ago. The query came from inside the building. Sarah's blood chilled. Whoever was hunting Marcus had resources that reached into classified military databases. This wasn't corporate espionage. It was something darker, more dangerous. She picked up her secure phone, dialing the one person who might have answers. Director Patricia Wells at the Defense Intelligence Agency owed Sarah favors from their graduate school days at Johns Hopkins. "Patricia, I need information about a former military medic named Marcus Chen." Silence stretched across the encrypted line. Then, "Sarah, whatever you think you know about that name, forget it. Some ghosts are better left buried. He works for me. Someone's trying to kill him. Then they have good reason. Dr. Marcus Chen died in Afghanistan 3 years ago. Officially, if someone's using his identity, they're either very stupid or very dangerous." The call ended, leaving Sarah with the terrifying realization that her janitor was either a dead man walking or someone powerful enough to steal a dead man's life. Either way, the attack in the parking garage suddenly made perfect sense. Someone wanted the ghost of Marcus Chen to stay buried forever. The service elevator descended to sub-level 3 with mechanical precision, while Marcus's mind calculated tactical scenarios. The building's security system had been compromised for weeks, possibly months. Tonight's chemical accident was reconnaissance, testing his reactions, measuring his capabilities. They knew who he was, or at least suspected. The elevator opened to reveal maintenance tunnels that connected biogenesis to the wider hospital complex. Marcus moved through familiar territory, muscle memory from 3 years of studying building schematics, guiding him toward the emergency exit. but footsteps echoed from multiple directions. Professional spacing, coordinated movement. They'd been waiting. Marcus pressed against a junction wall, listening. Radio chatter in Arabic, the same dialect he'd learned interrogating insurgents in Kandahar. These weren't corporate mercenaries. They were military contractors, possibly the same unit that had killed Dr. Marcus Chen in an explosion meant to silence inconvenient research. His encrypted phone vibrated. Package armed. Apartment 4B. Confirmed target elimination by 0200 hours. Tommy, asleep 3 miles away, trusting his father to keep the monsters at bay. Marcus activated the building's fire suppression system. Emergency lighting bathed the tunnels in red while klaxons wailed overhead. In the chaos, he moved like the ghost he'd become. Swift, silent, deadly when necessary. The first contractor never saw him coming. A pressure point strike dropped the man unconscious, tactical radio and weapon disappearing into Marcus's hands. Control, this is Bravo 3. Target has gone active. Repeat, the asset is operational. Copy, Bravo 3. Authorization granted for terminal measures. Collateral damage acceptable. Marcus's jaw tightened. Collateral damage. Tommy sleeping in his dinosaur pajamas. Mrs. Rodriguez knitting in the next apartment. Innocent lives sacrificed to keep corporate secrets buried. Time to remind them why some doctors learned their anatomy in war zones. The ghost of Afghanistan was about to become very real for anyone who threatened his son. The parking garage had become a hunting ground. Marcus crouched behind concrete pillars, the tactical radio crackling with coordinates that painted him as prey. 4 contractors moved through shadows with military precision, night vision cutting through darkness like electronic eyes. But they'd made one critical error. They'd never faced a man fighting for his child's life. Marcus triggered the garage's sprinkler system. The first hiss sounded like a whisper telling him to run. Water cascaded from ceiling nozzles, shorting night vision equipment and masking thermal signatures. The playing field leveled in seconds. Bravo 1, we've lost visual. Repeat, target is dark. Marcus moved through artificial rain like a surgeon navigating familiar anatomy. The first contractor rounded a pillar to find empty air where his target should have been. A mop handle struck the base of his skull. Precise, non-lethal, effective. The second man called for backup while Marcus appropriated tactical gear, body armor, communications equipment, weapons he'd sworn never to touch again. Sarah, can you hear me? He spoke into the commandeered radio, knowing she monitored security frequencies. Her voice crackled through static. Marcus, where are you? Parking garage, 4 hostiles eliminated, but there's something you need to know about the clinical trial sabotage. Gunfire erupted from the stairwell as reinforcements arrived. Marcus dove behind a sedan, bullets sparking off concrete and metal. These weren't warning shots. They intended to silence him permanently. The data corruption wasn't random, Marcus continued, reloading with practiced efficiency. Someone's targeting every researcher working on affordable pediatric cancer treatment. Dr. Jennifer Walsh was supposed to die tonight. Sarah's sharp intake of breath carried across the radio. My God. How many others? All of them. Anyone who threatens pharmaceutical monopolies on children's medicine. Marcus moved position as muzzle flashes lit the garage. The explosion that killed Dr. Marcus Chen 3 years ago. That was the beginning. Silence stretched between gunshots. Then Sarah's voice, barely a whisper. You're him, the researcher whose work started our breakthrough. Marcus eliminated the third contractor with surgical precision, a nerve strike that dropped the man without permanent damage. Right now, I'm the janitor trying to keep you alive long enough to save my son. The final hostile retreated toward emergency exits. Marcus let him go, knowing fear would spread faster than bullets. Tommy needs that drug, Sarah, and so do 100,000 other children whose parents can't fight wars to save them. Sarah found Marcus in the executive conference room, stripped of tactical gear, bleeding from a graze across his ribs. He'd returned to janitor's clothing, but the illusion had shattered completely. This man moved like controlled violence, wearing a maintenance uniform. Show me, she demanded, gesturing toward his medical knowledge. Marcus rolled up his sleeve, revealing scars that told stories of surgical precision under combat conditions. Track marks from IV lines administered in field hospitals, burns from chemical exposure during biological weapons research. Kandahar, field hospital, kids poisoned. We built shortcuts to keep them breathing. Sarah traced one scar with her finger, a surgical incision precise enough to suggest self-treatment. The explosion? Car bomb meant for my commanding officer. I was standing next to his vehicle when it detonated. Officially, Dr. Marcus Chen died that day. Marcus met her eyes. Unofficially, a janitor named Marcus Chen started working night shifts to stay close to the research that could save his son. The conference room fell silent, except for distant sirens converging on biogenesis. Sarah processed the implications. Her breakthrough drug built on foundations laid by a man the world thought was dead. "Tommy's seizures," she whispered. "You've been protecting my research because it's his only hope. The current medication is losing effectiveness. Without your drug, he'll face progressive neurological damage, possibly death." Marcus's hands trembled slightly, the first crack in his controlled facade. "I can't lose him, Sarah. He's all I have left of the man I used to be." Sarah pulled up clinical trial data on her tablet, scrolling through patient profiles until she found what she was looking for. 7-year-old male, chronic seizure disorder, medication resistant. Your son's already in our trial database. Marcus stared at the screen, recognizing Tommy's medical history disguised behind patient identification numbers. "How?" "I've been tracking children who need this drug. Tommy Chen appeared on my list 6 months ago." Sarah's voice softened. "I've been fighting for your son without knowing his father was fighting for me." Outside, emergency vehicles painted the night in red and blue. But inside the conference room, 2 warriors found themselves on the same side of a battle that had been raging longer than either realized. Marcus's encrypted phone buzzed with images that stopped his heart. Surveillance photos of Tommy leaving school, Mrs. Rodriguez walking to the corner market, time-stamped evidence that his son's safety had been an illusion for weeks. "They've been watching him," Marcus whispered, showing Sarah the photos. "Every day, every route. They know his schedule better than I do." Sarah's face hardened as she recognized the tactical precision. "This isn't about stopping our research anymore. It's about controlling it. They want the drug's development tied to companies that will price it beyond reach." Marcus calculated distances and timing. Apartment 4B was 30 minutes away. The device they'd planted would detonate at midnight unless he confirmed the kill. But going home meant abandoning Sarah to corporate assassins who'd already demonstrated their reach. "I have to choose," he said. "Protect my son or protect the research that could save him." "No," Sarah's voice carried the authority that had built a medical empire. "We protect both, together." She pulled up building schematics on her computer, highlighting service tunnels that connected biogenesis to the broader hospital complex. "There's a secondary lab in the pediatric wing. All our backup data plus equipment for emergency drug synthesis." Marcus studied the blueprints with tactical eyes. "They'll expect us to run, not to advance deeper into the building." "Exactly. While they're hunting ghosts in the parking garage, we'll be manufacturing hope in a children's hospital." Sarah gathered research files with practiced efficiency. "How long do we have before the device at your apartment activates?" Marcus checked his watch. 47 minutes. "Then we'd better work fast, because in 47 minutes, Tommy Chen is going to need a father who saved more than just his life. He's going to need a father who saved his future." They moved toward the service elevator, 2 warriors united by impossible stakes and the determination to prove that some battles were worth fighting regardless of the odds. Behind them, emergency lights painted the conference room in shades of red, like blood spilled for children who deserved better than corporate greed disguised as medical necessity. The pediatric wing's emergency lab hummed with the quiet efficiency of machines designed to save children's lives. Sarah's fingers flew across computer terminals while Marcus secured the door with furniture that wouldn't stop determined attackers but might buy precious minutes. "The gene sequencer is offline," Sarah announced, frustration bleeding through her professional calm. "Someone corrupted the initialization protocols remotely." Marcus approached the million-dollar machine with the confidence of someone who'd helped design its predecessor. His hands moved across diagnostic panels, recognizing circuit patterns and software architecture from his previous life. "Bypass the main processor," he instructed, voice carrying the authority of a researcher who'd published papers on rapid medical synthesis. "Route processing power through the backup systems. It'll run at 60% efficiency, but that's enough." Sarah watched in amazement as Marcus reconfigured equipment she'd spent months learning to operate. "You didn't just research pediatric treatments. You built the tools to create them. Military field hospitals need rapid drug synthesis under combat conditions." Marcus connected bypass cables with surgical precision. "When children are dying from chemical weapons, you learn to innovate or watch them suffer." The sequencer whirred to life, processing genetic markers that would confirm the drug's effectiveness against Tommy's specific seizure variant. But as data began flowing across screens, Marcus's encrypted phone vibrated with incoming video call. The screen showed Tommy sleeping peacefully in his dinosaur pajamas, unaware of the explosive device hidden beneath his bed. Mrs. Rodriguez dozed in the living room chair, equally oblivious to the countdown that would end both their lives in 23 minutes. "Dr. Chen." The voice belonged to someone accustomed to buying death with corporate budgets. "You have a choice. Destroy Dr. Mitchell's research, or watch your son become collateral damage in a war you started." Marcus's hand stilled on the equipment controls, decades of medical training warred with paternal instinct as he stared at Tommy's innocent face, framed by mechanical death. Sarah placed her hand over his, steadying fingers that had performed surgery under artillery bombardment. "We save them all, Marcus, or we save none of them." The gene sequencer chimed completion. On the screen, Tommy's genetic profile matched perfectly with drug protocols that could eliminate his seizures forever. But first, they had to survive the next 22 minutes. Marcus's phone erupted with emergency alerts from the building next to his apartment complex. Mrs. Rodriguez's frantic voice cut through static. "Marcus, Tommy won't wake up. Something's wrong with his breathing." The video call showed his son convulsing on the living room floor while the elderly woman knelt helplessly beside him. Status epilepticus, the kind of seizure that could cause permanent brain damage or death if not treated within minutes. "Get him to the hospital," Marcus commanded, but his voice cracked with the helplessness of being 30 minutes away from his dying child. "The ambulance won't start. The engine's been sabotaged." Mrs. Rodriguez's tears mixed with terror as Tommy's seizure intensified. Sarah grabbed Marcus's arm as he started toward the door. "It's a trap. They're forcing you to choose between the research and your son." Marcus pulled away, surgical training overriding tactical thinking. "Then I choose my son." But as he reached the laboratory door, Sarah's voice stopped him cold. "There's another way. The pediatric ICU is 2 floors down. We synthesize an emergency dose here, I inject it directly, and we video guide Mrs. Rodriguez through basic life support." Marcus calculated odds that would have been impossible anywhere except a children's hospital equipped with experimental drug synthesis capabilities. "The drug hasn't been tested for emergency injection. We don't know the dosage parameters for a 7-year-old in active seizure." "Then we calculate them. Right now. Together." Sarah was already pulling up Tommy's medical records, cross-referencing weight and seizure history with drug concentration formulas. "You know his medical history better than anyone. I know this drug better than its creator." Marcus stared at the screen showing his son's small body racked by electrical storms in his brain. 21 minutes until the explosive device activated. "Every minute like this risks damage. We're already late." "Do it," he whispered. Sarah's hands moved with the precision of someone who'd spent her career turning hope into medicine, while Marcus guided Mrs. Rodriguez through emergency positioning and airway management via video call. Sarah synthesized a dose of experimental cancer drug that might save a child's brain or kill him trying. The irony cut deep. Using cancer treatment to stop seizures, gambling everything on research that pharmaceutical companies wanted buried. "Injection ready," Sarah announced. "But Marcus, if this doesn't work..." "It will work." His voice carried the confidence of a father who'd survived war zones to save his son, because the alternative is unacceptable. Sarah administered the injection through video guidance, while Marcus counted seconds between Tommy's convulsions. The experimental drug flowed through a 7-year-old's bloodstream like liquid hope, targeting neurological pathways that conventional medicine couldn't reach. For 30 seconds, nothing changed. Tommy's small body continued its violent rebellion against the electrical chaos firing through his brain. Then, gradually, the seizure began to subside. Muscle spasms decreased, breathing normalized, color returned to cheeks that had been blue with oxygen deprivation. "It's working," Mrs. Rodriguez whispered, tears streaming as Tommy's eyes fluttered open. But Marcus's relief shattered as footsteps echoed through the corridor outside the lab. Professional spacing, military precision. The contractors had found them. "Sarah, take the synthesized samples and get to the FDA hearing." Marcus handed her vials containing enough experimental drug to treat 50 children. "I'll hold them here. I'm not leaving you to face them alone. You're not leaving me alone. You're carrying everything I've worked for." Marcus checked the tactical rifle he'd taken from the parking garage. "Tommy's alive because of your drug. Now make sure other children get the same chance." The magnets on the cabinets chattered. Glassware sang a nervous note. The laboratory door exploded inward as breach charges detonated. 3 contractors poured through the opening, weapons raised, faces hidden behind tactical masks. But they found only empty air where Dr. Marcus Chen should have been waiting. The ghost of Afghanistan had learned new tricks in 3 years of hiding. Emergency lighting failed as Marcus triggered building-wide power fluctuations. In the darkness, he moved like surgical precision given deadly form. The first contractor never saw the strike that severed his carotid artery, non-lethal but instantly incapacitating. The second fell to pressure points that Marcus had memorized during trauma surgery rotations. The third man managed 1 radio transmission before unconsciousness claimed him. Target eliminated all hostiles. Package delivery confirmed. But as Marcus secured the laboratory, his phone showed a different truth. The explosive device beneath Tommy's bed had been disarmed by federal agents responding to Sarah's emergency call to the FDA. The real package had been delivered to corporate boardrooms where pharmaceutical executives learned that some ghosts refused to stay buried, and some fathers would wage war against entire industries to save their children. Outside, dawn painted the children's hospital in shades of hope, while inside, two warriors had proven that healing sometimes required both courage and sacrifice. 6 months later, Tommy Chen ran across the playground at Riverside Elementary without stumbling, his laughter carrying the pure joy of a child whose brain no longer betrayed him. The experimental drug had eliminated his seizures completely, replacing fear with the boundless energy of normal childhood. Marcus watched from a bench near the science building where Tommy's class was learning about DNA and medical breakthroughs. No more 7 a.m. medication alarms. No more midnight emergencies. No more counting seconds between convulsions. His phone buzzed with a message from Sarah. FDA approval finalized. Production begins next week. Projected cost, $12 per dose. $12 instead of $12,000. Within reach of families who'd been forced to choose between medicine and mortgage payments. The ghost of Dr. Marcus Chen had finally completed his mission, not through war, but through the healing he'd always intended medicine to provide. "Dad?" Tommy approached with a drawing clutched in his small hands. "I made this for you." The crayon artwork showed two figures in a laboratory, one tall, one small, working together to help other children. At the bottom, in careful 7-year-old handwriting, "My dad, the Dr. Hero." Marcus's throat tightened. "How did you know?" "Mrs. Mitchell told me about the medicine you helped make. She said you used to be a doctor before you became my dad." Tommy's eyes held the wisdom of a child who'd faced mortality and emerged stronger. "I think being my dad is better." Through the classroom window, Marcus could see Sarah presenting to Tommy's science class about medical research. She caught his eye and smiled, the expression of someone who'd learned that heroes didn't always wear scrubs or carry stethoscopes. Sometimes they pushed mop buckets and sang lullabies to children who needed both medicine and love to survive. "Dr. Chen," a voice interrupted his thoughts. Sarah approached the bench, professional confidence softened by genuine affection. "The hospital board approved your application for Chief of Pediatric Research. Full credentials restored, complete medical clearance, and a salary that can support Tommy's college dreams." Marcus considered the offer that would return him to his former life. Research labs instead of supply closets, medical conferences instead of night shifts. The respect he'd earned through decades of innovation and sacrifice. "What about the janitor position?" Sarah's eyebrows rose. "What about it?" "Someone needs to work nights. Keep an eye on security. Make sure the cleaning protocols protect sensitive research." Marcus smiled at Tommy, who was explaining his drawing to classmates with infectious enthusiasm. "Besides, the best discoveries happen when nobody's watching." "You want to keep both jobs?" "Day job cleans floors, night job keeps them safe, whether that's from corporate conspiracies or coffee spills in the lab." Marcus stood, straightening the maintenance uniform he'd worn through 3 years of invisible service. "The world thinks Dr. Marcus Chen died in Afghanistan. Maybe it's better if he stays dead officially." Sarah nodded, understanding flowing between them like shared purpose. "Then welcome to the team, Dr. Chen, both of you." As the school bell rang and children rushed toward buses, Tommy ran back to Marcus with the boundless energy of perfect health. No seizures, no medication schedules, no fear of tomorrow bringing medical emergencies. Just a father and son walking home together, past a billboard advertising affordable pediatric cancer treatment that would save thousands of children whose parents couldn't fight wars to protect them. The ghost of Afghanistan had finally found peace in the healing he'd always intended medicine to provide. "Dad?" Tommy asked as they reached their apartment building. On a scale of 1 to 10, how awesome was today? Marcus smiled, remembering Sarah's promise that other children would soon experience the same joy. 11, buddy. Definitely 11. But that, as Tommy would say when he grew up to become a doctor himself, is another story.